For her, it is very tough to tell a millionaire woman to go back and try and date a man who makes 50,000 because it's a conflict of interest. It's very tough. And I know, guys, you're going to sit there and say she makes 3 million, so she's expecting a millionaire guy. We understand that. But what I'm trying to get women to understand is if you are a millionaire woman, you have to put some priorities in place, right? If that guy loves you and take care of you and not using Tyler Perry's crazy ass comment of he can only pay a light bill, that was just dumb.
Yep, she makes most of the money. All I can pay is the light bill.
Because you see, the majority of people, we're sitting there focused on that. I'm not dating a man who can only pay a light bill. No, he was just using that as an example. And it was a bad example because I knew when he said it, that was going to be the thing that they hung on, right? Yeah, it's tough to tell these women who are millionaires to date down, so to speak. But like Dripfire said, 95% of the women thought she was talking to them. No. If a woman is like 40 years old and you're expecting this woman to get with the man who's 40 years old and he's still relying on his ambition, that's a hard ask for that woman. And I understand men think that men don't have a wall. That's not true. So if you're one of these guys that are sitting here saying that, well, when I turn 35, then I'm going to automatically become high value, or men can always improve themselves no matter what age they're at. You really want to rely on that? You really want to reach your peak when you're 50 years old, 55 years old, and then you're going to be sitting there out here, now I can get all the bad women that I want.
I got money.
But those not respectable women.
I don't want no respect. I want some ass. Damn the respect. I want you to break down like a 12-gauge double barrel shotgun and show me what you're working with.
But don't you want commitment?
What? Go who?
No, most men don't do that. So I just want to be clear on that. I know, guys, we like to run with these, these narratives and things of that nature. No, you need to put in the work early so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor in your older years. You don't want to be still being a guy, I got potential at 40 years old. You really think a woman who has her career established is supposed to date a guy who is still relying on potential? No. For her, those potential years have passed. Potential is only for women who are younger. When both of y'all broke, a man build himself up, y'all cultivate a relationship, a marriage. So when you're telling a woman who's already established, a career-driven woman who has a lot of money, oh, you need to date a guy with potential. No, she don't. That shit is past her. It may be a positive or a negative, but it's past her. So guys, stop telling women who are older and already established to be trying to date men with potential. If you're a man that's still relying on that, you did something wrong in your 20s and 30s. You're supposed to be moving forward instead of waiting until 40. And yes, some men get lucky, hit the jackpot, build something, develop something, create a business, become a millionaire. We understand that, but that is not the majority. That is the minority. Most men don't even try. Most men are content with simply being workers, and that's okay. It's fine. But don't try and put your potential on a successful woman who's already older. So she got to figure something else out. That's on her.
Yeah. The clip that you just heard was from Medium Man, and he was talking about the male wall and telling women, especially millionaire women, that they have to, what we call, settle. Especially women like MDK Williams. That's a millionaire woman saying that she's got to date down. Basically, MDK Williams and everybody else says, yeah, we got to date down. You do. Why? Because your time has passed. And sometimes I hate purple pill spaces because instead of telling the truth, they try to soften the blow to women. Because, guess what? Half of their viewership is going to be female. And they want to soften an ugly truth. You finally got MDK Williams to actually tell the truth and what we focus on. Men, right? Well, you men, guys, you can't expect her, the women that's a millionaire, to date down and date a bus driver. Bunk. Or date a business dude that makes less than her. Bunk. Or date a dude with potential. There's some guys that do have potential at 40. It's rare, but they do. Should you be here working hard and grinding in your 20s? Yeah. So you can retire in your 40s and 50s? Sure. But time does not roll the same way for men as it does for women. It just doesn't. Susan K. Patton said the same thing when she wrote her book, Mary Smart. She said that a decade ago. A lot of your second wave feminists were saying the exact same thing. Susan K. Vinker has been saying the exact same thing for a decade. Okay, this is not new. Susan K. Vinker started writing this book in 2012. When your Gen Xers, who were your first feminist class, second wave feminist class, were raised on this stuff, you got to be in their mid-30s and 40s. They're trying to tell younger women, beware. The stuff that they're telling you is not going to work. And black women are always late to the party. Tyler Perry was saying nothing different than what Susan Patton, Susan Vinker, what's her name? Liz Monday and a few others said the exact same thing, right? About breadwinning women. And you're going to have to take supportive men. Sometimes men with skills that you need. If the man can cook, clean, take care of the house, and you're working 67, 80 hours a week or 100 hours a week, if you're a lawyer in certain professions, you can't be home if you want kids. You cannot be home if you want kids. You're going to have to plan for that in your 20s. Instead of being what we're calling buzzer beaters. I'm going to start, instead of saying leftover, I'm going to start calling women after 35 buzzer beaters. Because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit that last second shot before the clock runs out. But let me get to this, because Kevin Samuels, Susan Patton, Susan Vinker, all these folks are saying the exact same thing, right? When white women say it, nobody ignores them. When the black men say something like Tyler Perry or Kevin, all of a sudden everybody gets all up in Twitter because you would never say that to a white woman. Bullshit. In fact, white women said it first. And why I like Medium Man, what he's saying, stop placating to the women. Okay, stop soft shoeing this shit, okay? The wall, as it exists, does not exist for men the same way it does exist for women. Men age, men don't have a wall. The wall is biological. Men have a decline, but men do not have a wall. Women have a hard stop. Well, anyway, let me get into this before we get in too long into this video. This is where I started in 2012, 2013. This is Rollo Tomasi's The Rational Male. This is his SMV chart. Okay? Basically what he did, which is brilliant. This is something that he made his name off of. It was just brilliant. He took the summation of what makes a woman valuable and what makes a man valuable, and at what ages. What's their peak? Where's the crossover? Where's the decline? Where's the rise and where's the decline, right? He charted all of that, he added it all up, and this is what came out. Right? This is what actually spit out. Yeah, he said there's three major things that each sex or each gender, whatever you want to put it, wants from the other, right? For men, it's youth, it's beauty, and it's fertility. A woman's peak for youth, beauty, and fertility is at 20 to 22, right here. In the modern era, which is different from 40, 50 years ago, a man's value is what? Resources, intelligence, and emotional stability. Physicality is fourth, but top three things for a man is security, basically dependability, emotional security, resources, and emotional stability, which is wisdom, right? Those three things. The peak for a man at that age is, according to Rollo Tomasi, was about 37 to 38. So his peak was about 38 years old. He said the crossover is about between 27 and 30. when a woman is declining rapidly and a man starts ascending. And that's where the crossover is. This was his opinion from his own research. Okay, Cupid, a few years later, verified his findings from about a base of like 20 million people, 20 million daters. And they had this extensive survey, a questionnaire, really, I took it. I answered about 400 questions. The questionnaire was about 800 if you took it all. So they have a very extensive survey, very extensive study on dating patterns. Christian Rudder is a numbers guy. He's a quant. He's a mathematician. So he studies numbers. He studies statistics. That's what he's good at. And what Christian Rudder came up, and this is an example of what he came up with. Women have a very narrow peak. It's extensive. It's a narrow peak, but it's extensive. Between 21 and 22. The same thing Rollo Tomasi said. The peaks look different because a man's value to a 20, 21, 22-year-old woman is not the same as a man's value when he gets to be about 37, 38. It's not equivalent. But the woman's drop is so drastic because the time period is so narrow. And all the high value men, I call them 100 octanes and above, all say the same thing. When you get past 30, they start looking younger. Susan K. Patton said the exact same thing. Why would he pick you at 33, 34 when you can date 10 years younger? With 10 years more of what? Fertility. And that's the one thing biologically they leave out. Looks, women always go to looks. Well, I can extend my looks. Possibly, if you got good genetics, you can extend your looks. And you take care of yourself, you can extend your looks. So it's beauty. Youth, you can't get back. You ain't gonna be 22 again. Your fertility, there's nothing you can do about that. Either it is there or it's not. You're biologically wired for that from the time that you're born. A woman is born with all her eggs. A woman is born with her fertility. There's other things like pesticides and environmental stuff that can make it decline. Her eating habits can make it decline. What she puts in her head as far as chemicals can make it decline. But she's born with her fertility. There's a reason. There's a reason that most cultures say the woman is left over or old at 25. Now, physically, for other things outside of fertility, she's not. But fertility, she's old. Okay, you have the same kind of. A woman has the same kind of fertility that women had 1 million years ago, 500,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago. Your fertility window has not changed. Your fertility window's not changed. Your puberty starts right around 11 or 12 years old, when your eggs become active, when your flow starts, and your fertility window pretty much ends naturally at the same spot, right around 40. Ends, it don't mean a hard stop. So to verify what these two curves are, especially this one, especially that one, this is the preferred age of a woman to a man at various ages, right? From 20 all the way to 50. Guess what you see? 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, right? You see some 21s. You see some 22s. You see 124, which is an outlier, right? Statistically, it's a straight line. So this curve, or these curves, this curve really is more accurate about the peak value of a woman. Money is not it, or education is not it. Peak value for a woman, for just about all men, is this peak value. In other words, women have been taught to be men, and they're horrible at being men. Because if there were men, guess what? Peak value for a man would be right around the same age. Peak value for physicality for a man is 30. Earnings by gender, growth by gender, okay? Male wall, right? Now, he was talking about a very narrow set of people. If you're talking about a millionaire woman, you're talking about 1%. Talking about Ebony K. Williams, she's a 1% person. So 99% of women will not apply. It's not going to apply to. You got another 2 or 3% of women that could get some benefit from it. Well, let's talk about the male wall and potential. Okay, potential. Women peak out, as far as earnings is concerned, right around 40. When she peaks, a woman reaches her peak. A man doesn't peak out as far as earnings until he's in his 50s. So, according to medium man, a man that's 40 can't rely on his potential. According to this curve, he sure can. A man doesn't start his rise or his peak in his 20s. Jack Ma said the same thing. Jack Ma in China of Alibaba said almost the same thing that I'm saying here. The wall looks different for men than it does for women. Men don't have a hard stop, women do. Stop trying to placate. Asking $1 million woman to, if she's 20, fine. But a 40-year-old woman that's reached her peak, that's $1 million woman, basically, sweetie, you're too late. You're too late to get married. You're too late to get a high-value man. It's pretty much too late. You're going to have to take a man that makes less. Is a Pookie that has a light bill? No. Believe it or not, most chicks like that have babies by Pookies. They just don't move them in. That's black women. White women are actually smarter than this. White women, if they reach this age, after 40, 41, they're not trying to have a baby. They're resigned to their fate. Let's look at another thing. Okay, let's talk about the male wall, right? Okay, these are the 3 qualities that make up what is valuable to a woman from a man, right? Because they always talk about emotional intelligence, psychological qualities. When does a man get emotional intelligence, psychological qualities that women want? Look at it's in the green, right? He's 40. What's the other thing? Physical qualities. If it is physical qualities, with black women, I'm sure that it does apply. When does he peak out? If you go by the NBA or sports, man's physical peak is 30. Man's physical peak is 30. If you go by studies, a man's actual physical peak is 30. He starts to decline after that. Between 25 and 30 is a man's physical peak. You look at the NBA, you look at when they actually win championships. If you look at the NFL, if you look at great track runners, same thing. Between 25 and 30, look at tennis players. Between 25 and 30 is that's their peak. Okay, ability to provide for family. That's in the yellow, right? Resources. Guess when a man peaks? We said between 45 and 55. So if there is a wall, which is a decline, if we gauge it on the same thing, where's the male wall at? It ain't at 40. 55. That's the male wall. 20 years later than the female wall. If there is a wall, that's when his value declines. 55, when all three of these things don't add up again anymore, right? His peak is by between 40 and 45. His decline, or his wall, as we call it, is 55, not 40, not 35, not 20. Asking a woman that's making $1 million, or $1 million woman, a high successful woman, corporate woman, to depend on potential, it is a hard ask. The thing is, at the end of the day, that man is who that man is. Really, that man is who that man is in his 20s. And the money example, right? Ask anybody that went to HBCU or college, right? Who those chicks dated when they're in college. It wasn't you. So either the athlete that's a baller, or what? Or the local drug dealer, or the local businessman that went down to the college, as Coach Greg Adams says, and went to the junior college, picked up chicks. Resources was always on the table. I don't care what age you are. Black women do not really look at potential like that. If that was the case, they'd be getting married in college. They would get married to the guy that's graduating with a STEM degree or with a computer degree or with going to law school. If potential was what they were looking for. Black women don't look for potential. If that chick was looking for potential, she'd have got married at 20. She's looking for something else. And at the end of the day, at the end of the day, if you're $1 million woman, you're not looking for resources. You're looking for the other two qualities. You're looking for genetics and basically psychological qualities. That's what you're looking for. Let's continue. It ain't gonna make this long. Fertility peak to peak, right? Okay. This chart says there's a peak, a couple peaks. There's the peak, and then there's the buzzer beater. For a woman, her peak is what? As we always say, about 2022. That's her peak fertility, okay? If you get to be 35, 36, that's a buzzer beater. Offspring per year, right? You got a lot of women that are doing buzzer beaters nowadays. They're having babies in their peak fertility, and doing buzzer beaters. What's a buzzer beater for a man? 55. 20 years later. Its peak to have a kid is 35. Is this starting to add up? You see the parallels? You see the shift? Is there a wall? Where's his wall? Where's her wall at? Her wall is getting close to 40. His wall is 55. And here is where the woman's wall actually is, believe it or not. The hard stop is fertility. Give or take, a woman is born with all her eggs, 1 million eggs. So when she starts off, when she's a baby, she's got all her eggs, all her gametes. By the time she hits 20, more than half her eggs are gone. In the olden days, between here and here, used to be peak fertility, when she's gonna have most of her kids. Nowadays, because of education, the modern era, her peak is gonna be between here and here. Look what happens after 30. Now the potential thing when women, we call modern women, actually start looking for kids, looking to have children, guess what? She's down to what? 10% of her eggs. That's the wall, baby, all day long. The wall's not 35, the wall is actually 30. There's a reason for that. There's a reason they call you leftover. Leftover. You only got 10% of your eggs. According to this chart, you only got 10% of your eggs by the time you get to be 30. And that's just the first part of the wall. Look at your monthly fertility chart. Here's another one, right? When does it start to drop? When's the crossover point? And this one is 32, 33. There's your wall, okay? When you get past 30, there's your wall. That's where the decline, according to this chart, according to this study. Your wall is between, it's 32, 33. It's not 35, okay? 35, we're into what? Buzzer beaters. Where does the men start to decline? When he's past 45. When he gets actually 55, 50, 55, he's into buzzer beaters. That's basically 20 years apart, 15, 20 years apart. A man's wall or decline is not the same. Men can have, even at that, it's not a hard stop for men, it's a decline. Look at Kirk Douglas, he's 80, he just had a kid. Now here's the reason that nobody looks at. Okay, we look at eggs, and you have 10% of your eggs left. You only have 10% of your fertility left. Here's the other reason. This is what Ebony K is finding out, right? People look at estrogen and think and part of that is true. Estrogen is what makes a female female. It is important in having a baby. As estrogen drops, your period will stop, okay? But the thing is, that's only partially what it has to do with fertility. This is the one that they don't talk about as far as fertility, which is progesterone. Progesterone is as important, or even probably more important, as far as fertility is concerned, because progesterone stops her uterus from rejecting the fetus, stops the miscarriages. Miscarriage as progesterone drops, miscarriages grow. Miscarriage, especially after 30. Women have more miscarriages after 30. Why? Because your progesterone, it started to drop. And by the time you get to 30, 35, guess what? There's your wall. Just before you hit 35-ish, there's your wall. You're in the buzzer beater territory. Look how fast the progesterone drops. These are the drugs that W.K. Williams is on. She almost has no progesterone. So they have to pump her full of chemicals so that she will not reject that baby. That's why women that get this far, they're into surrogate territory, unless you got some really good doctors. A woman's wall is determined by her fertility. It ain't the same for men. Here's another chart. Women, according to this chart, women start losing their progesterone, in their 20s. Peak for a woman to have a baby is there, between 18 and 22. By the time you get here, these are buzzer beaters. Look how much progesterone you dropped. You lost 70% of your progesterone? By the time you get to be 35, when you're looking to have a baby, by the time you get to 40, you get down to the point where it's almost none. You're into perimenopause by the time you get in here. This is perimenopause after 35. Your periods started to become irregular. But that's your wall. This is your wall. These are hard stops. Look at the lines. These are hard stops. They all line up the same way. These are hard stops. These are hard stops. All these are hard stops. Men do not line up this way. Men don't have the same kind of problems. Stop. You guys need to stop faking it. You guys need to stop putting out bad information. Okay? Trying to equivocate men and women as far as what? As far as a wall, as far as biology, as far as earnings and potential, all that's, it's all different. Men physically do not finish growing till they're 30. It's biology. Men have a bigger body, denser bodies, more. Men can have anywhere from 10 to 20% more cells to grow, to replicate than women do. Talking women mature faster. They have less cells. Their bodies are not as dense. So it takes less time to replicate her cells. That's why she matures faster. Women psychologically and physically mature faster than men to their peak, right? Whatever their peak is. Men have a much broader peak. They're going to be bigger, they're going to be stronger, they're going to be faster, and basically they're going to be more mature when they hit 40. That's why it takes so long. Stop trying to compare apples and oranges. Stop trying to say, look, just make women feel good, but say men have a wall too, and brothers, you shouldn't ask for nothing. There's such a thing as a class system. You have a lot of poor-ass women thinking that they're in the same class as MDK, because guess what? MDK can't make no money preaching to the choir to her rich buddies. She got to preach to regular people, preach to regular women. Stop complaining about men that you don't qualify for anymore, that they're not showing up. They're not showing up as far as money is concerned. Feminists overturned the society, and you took money and jobs out of men's pockets and out of men's mouths and and replaced them in the boardroom, in the job situation, everything else. You replace them, and this is a zero-sum game. You replace them, that means there's one less man to be upgraded to. There's one less breadwinner, because that's you. It's feminism and second wave feminism have put you in the place of a breadwinner. She put you in the place of a man. She's taught you how to be a man. Now, either man up or sit down. Either man up or sit down. I just played a video by Susan learning to be a woman when you've been socialized to be a man, when you've been groomed to be men. What they're doing with these upscale women, with these billion-dollar women, is grooming them to be what? Men. And they're not men, because they're not even acting like men. They're whining like women. Really, they're whining like pussies, because that's what they are. If a man whine the exact same way, we call him a pussy. Shut up and deal with it. You waited too late to have a kid. You're trying to get a buzzer beater. And you're a poor bet for a high-value man that wants a family. Why should he sit there and struggle with you because you want to have a kid at 40 or 45 and have to go through all the pains and drugs and bed rest and even after you get to have the baby, all the other crap that you got to go through, the nannies and the babysitters, why should he go through that when he can just go get a better you when you're younger? He can get a better you right out of college with less demands, more youth, more beauty at her peak. Why should he buy a used red bottom shoe instead of getting a brand new one? Makes no sense. Shannon Rawls, Kevin Samuels all said the same thing. Why should I get you at 40, 35, 40 when I can get you at 20, 25? With, like Susan Patton says, better looking, more youthful, more pliable, more agreeable, and with 10 to 15 years more fertility than you have. A woman that's in her mid-30s is a bad bet for a high-value man. And what she's asking for is unreasonable. And it's like an old man that wants a young woman, a woman past her prime. If she wants to hang in with her and be that kind of father, pay for him. It's like everybody else. You're a man now, man up. Pay what you weigh. So if he can cook, clean, and support you while you go out and work, and you can pay the mortgage and he can pay the light bill, go for it. Stop being upset. Because if it was the man, he wouldn't even think twice. If she can give me what I want, and all she can pay is a light bill and take me out to dinner every now and then, I'm good. Anyhow, let me put this together and bounce off here. This is BG Asad. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.